Hello, I am the New Age Movie Rebel, and today I'm reviewing a movie called one of Nicolas Cage's worst ever attempted films that's supposed to be 100% serious. It's known as The Season of the Witch. Anyway, so jumping right into the story. So it starts off with showing you all about what the movie is trying to tell you where it is currently. Back in history, it's taking place during the time period of the medieval. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but medieval dark ages during the Black Plague and all that stuff. So rather 14th, 15th century, I'd say. So anyway, it first starts out with a priest giving a trial for three women, all who have been convicted of witchcraft, arrested and convicted of witchcraft. So he's giving them the trial and basically saying that they're all condemned to death. And one of them is, basically one of them is saying, his priest says, if you confess now, we shall save your soul. So he says that. So if any of you would like to confess, one witch happens to come forward and presumably confess to her practicing witchcraft. And in that term, afterward, they then throw both of them with stones wrapped around their feet and throw them over the edge of the bridge and hang them from it. So they hang them from the bridge, and the priest's knights, say that they just start walking away afterward, after lowering their bodies into the river. Next thing you know, the priest turns to one of the knights and says, "We need to bring the bodies back up to perform the proper ritual." It turns out the knights don't help him. So he comes back later on that night, the priest, and drags the bodies back up onto the top of the bridge to perform a sort of funeralistic ritual for the dead. I don't know what it's really about. Anyway, he pulls out a book, and the book is supposed to be known as the last remaining copy of the Book of Solomon, said to contain all of the ancient spells and sorceries used by the Holy Christian Church to fight against the dark forces of evil and Satan. So yeah, he's doing the ritual on one of them, finishes, does another one on the other one, finishes. Then next thing you know, he pulls up the third body. And then he pulls it up, but then next thing you know, he gets dragged from the dead body, pulls him down into the river. He falls off the bridge into the river. Then he's chased by this dead body, who's basically like a walking zombie. He gets chased back up onto the bridge where he grabs the book and performs some type of ritual you don't really get to see. Then next thing you know, priest gets killed, and that's when the scene cuts and shows you our two main heroes of the movie. Known as, basically it's Nicolas Cage, and the other actor is his best friend, who he's made friends with. I can't remember his name, the actor's name, but basically it's the guy who plays Hellboy in Hellboy, and also the actor who plays one of the evil vampires known as Reinhardt in Blade 2. If you've seen either of those two movies, you'll understand what I'm talking about, who I'm talking about. Anyway, so going on from there, it turns out that Nicolas Cage and this other guy, his best friend, have joined to fight the Catholic Church to fight against the evil terrorists, not terrorists, but infidels, the other religious groups that have declared war on everyone else. Basically, they're in the Middle East, probably around Egypt or Northern Africa, and they're in the Crusades, as they call it. They call it the Christian Crusades, and it's an actual historical event. So they're fighting up against many battles over 5 or 6 years. They eventually come to one final battle, which is the last battle they take place in, where they are under siege. No, sorry, they're in a siege under against a some kind of castle or city, and they've just broken through the walls. And Nicolas Cage rides up in front to start, killing the bad guys, as I say, the infidels, the traitors. And so he goes in through and he kills someone. But then after they kill everyone, they turn and they see that everyone they had just killed were nothing but innocent women and children that they had just killed. They had committed murder against like hundreds of nothing but innocent women, children, and families. And after that, they start burning the bodies. And then Nicolas Cage turns to his leader, one of the cardinals in the main church leading the crusade. He basically has a big argument, and eventually it leads to him and his friend leaving the battle and running away, basically deserting the church. And they go and they travel back to land, wherever it may be, I don't know, like Europe or somewhere in Europe. They come across, after traveling for many days and without food or water or any kind of refreshment or supplies, they finally say, okay, we need to find a town. We need to find something to help us get going. So they come across a small little farming house, and in it they find a dead family who have all been mutilated and they have been turned into basically corpses and covered in boils and spines and stuff like that. They say, what the hell is this, basically? And they turn and they burn the house down, and they come across, they keep traveling, they come across a town, and they go into and start, connecting with the people, just talking to them, and trying to keep a low profile, because as far as they're concerned, they're deserters from the church who have abandoned their call of duty. So that in turn is actually illegal, and that if they were to be found, they would be hung to death or burned at the stake. So basically, they go through the town and they're conversing and they're trying to find supplies. They get through. Basically, one of the stablemen from who's handling to give them their horses so they can get moving, realizes and finds out that they are members of the deserters from the church, because he takes down his sword from his satchel or whatever and sees his crest and all that stuff, and so they find out they deserted the church and that they ran away. So basically they get arrested by the Christian church knights, by the knights of the church. And so they're taken to an abbey where they are about to be thrown in jail. But then they're stopped by one of the head monks. They're given a task by one of the major cardinals, who also has been stricken by the plague, that they need to transport a witch who has confessed that she alone has created the plague as a means to destroy all humanity, and that the only way to stop the plague from spreading and get rid of it is to take her to a church deep into the forest known as Severac, to find the last remaining copy of the Book of Solomon, in which they need to use to destroy her powers, so that way they can end the plague. And so that's what they do. They capture her, sedate her, and throw her into a cage, into a cage loaded onto horses, on horseback. And the head monk one of the other knights named Eckhart, and they're led by Nicolas Cage, his friend, and also a Abbey boy who later on follows them and decides he wants to go along. And also, but before that, they decide they don't know the way. The maps aren't descriptive enough to show them the way, so they require the help of a swindler trader who has been locked up and all that stuff. So they get his help. He starts to lead them to Severac. Along the way, the witch, presumed witch, has gotten loose. And in the process of recapturing her, one of the knights gets killed accidentally from hallucinating and instead accidentally kills one of the other knights. So the knight gets killed, they bury him, and they continue to go along their travels. So the swindler is leading them through the forest. They come across a bridge which they need to cross in order to get to Severac. In the process of crossing said bridge, after crossing said bridge, the swindler himself, after crossing the bridge, gets mauled by giant wolves that have been called upon by the witch. Yeah. So she calls upon these wolves. They come and they basically rip the swindler to shreds. Yeah, that's what happens. So Nicolas Cage and his partner, the Abbot boy and the monk are all that's left. So they make it to Severac, and they find that while at Severac, the monks that are supposed to guard the Book of Solomon have been stricken by the plague. The plague has wiped them out. They've all died, and they later find out that their main purpose for being there was to write down and copy the Book of Solomon so that way they could spread the Book of Solomon out to help battle against the forces of evil and stuff like that. That we then have a big major plot point turn out. Turns out the presumed witch, is not actually a witch, because when they tried to perform the endeavored ritual to end her powers, she reveals to them by some means of like control over the mind. She manipulates them and so forth. They find out that she's not really a witch. She's actually in turn a demon, a spawn of Satan that has possessed a local woman, and who in turn used his powers to actually create the plague and so forth, and has brought upon, and whose main purpose in the movie is to find the last remaining copy of the Book of Solomon and destroy it, so that way the humans will have, again, no defense against evil, and therefore he and his kind can spread across the earth, take control of it, and then reclaim it in the name of Satan. So the only major way that these demons can do this is if they destroy the copy Book of Solomon. So that's what he's trying to do. They get locked inside of the abbey, the church, where the demon is, and afterward, they find the Book of Solomon, and they in turn try to exorcise the demon. They try to send him back to hell. But in turn of doing so, turns out the monk, who is the only one who can really read the book, is killed. But then we find out that the other member of the group, the Abbot boy, can also read the book, which he does. He reads the book. In turn, Nicolas Cage's partner gets killed, and then Nicolas Cage himself basically sacrifices himself so that way he can he grabs the demon, holds him up against the wall, so that way they can buy some time for the Abbot boy to finish the spell that can send the demon back to hell. That's what he does. The movie ends after Nicolas Cage himself dies, bleeds out after getting struck too many times and stabbed by the demon. The demon's gone. The girl who was being possessed by the demon survives, and the movie ends with them burying Nicolas Cage and his friend, and that's the end of the movie. They ride off and they say, "We will tell the story of these two great heroes who have traveled so far and come so close, and who have protected us from the very evil that would have destroyed us." So basically, my outlook on this movie is, it's good. I like it. It's not that long. It's short. The only problem I have with it is Nicolas Cage is not a very good actor when it comes to serious, strong played roles. He's more of the kind of person where he really tries to be serious, but ends up just being crazy and funny all in himself. And it just seems like the more Nicolas Cage tries to be serious and crazy, the more people try to deter themselves from actually liking his movies, because he doesn't play a good serious role. He has to be funny. He has to be crazy. And if he's not, then he's not a good actor. So, in turn, I like this movie. A lot of people didn't, but I like it. So anyway, I hope you guys like this review. Thank you for watching. This has been the New Age Movie Rebel. All right, take care.